Hey everyone, Squee913 here, with Squeeper and Freya. Hello, and welcome. I've got a treat for you guys. I did mention something about this in the first episode of Skyrim, that I had a collection of all of Squeeper's journals from Oblivion. If you've never seen the Oblivion Let's Play, you do kind of at least need to have an idea of what's going on, because the story in Skyrim kind of assumes you know. And if you're not willing or don't have the time to watch a 40-plus hour Let's Play, I completely understand. So I've gotten a collection of all the journal entries that I had written for Squeeper in Oblivion, which is kind of like a good review of what happens, since it's his thoughts and opinions on the events of the LP. So I put all those together in a book, and a big help to Sindre1818, who I didn't actually have the written script of the journal entries I had written earlier, so he copied most of this down from the videos of YouTube for me, and I really thank him for that. I've also written a lot more into it, covered some holes, added an intro and an exit, basically, to make it a more complete book. And there's a really cool ending to it. Hopefully, I think it's cool. So yeah, I'm gonna basically read this for you guys. I also have it in paper form if you just want to read it yourself. I'm also probably gonna try and upload an audio version of this so you can just listen to it if you want. But this will give you a really good idea of what took place in Oblivion that led up to what's going on in Skyrim. Also, I want you to keep in mind too, as I read this, I wrote each journal entry as I uploaded each episode, which means that when I wrote these journal entries, I had no idea how the story was going to play out, or how even the next journal entry was going to be. I was writing down Squeeper's thoughts and impressions, and my thoughts and impressions as Squeeper, as the story progressed. And that's important to know, that I did not have any clue this story would take the directions it did, or be as serious as it was, when I started writing these journal entries. And I think that's really important, because I think the journal entries are so much better because of that. So, I do plan, here we go, here it is, Legend of Runetail. I do plan on actually completing this and having it downloadable as a mod for Skyrim, as books that you can download and have with you in the world of Skyrim, like this one right here. It'll probably be several books, because it's very long, and I don't want you to have to flip through 100 pages just to get through wherever you were last. So it'll probably be 5 or 6 books. But anyway, I have it just as one here. This is a rough draft. If there's any mistakes or spelling and grammar or whatever, I haven't fixed it yet. I just wanted to get this up for you guys. So, enough prattling for me. Let's get into the book, shall we? The Legend of Runetail by Anthropoulos Lightfoot. Notes from the Scribe. Herein lies a faithful copy of the journal kept by Anthropoulos Lightfoot during his time in Cyrodiil. While the original journal has been lost to time, the words within this tome ensure that the story of Runetail will never be forgotten. Many scholars have debated the title for this book. At first glance, it is easy to think that Anthropoulos is the main focus of this book. After all, it is his journal and his thoughts. Because of this, many have suggested that the title should not be The Legend of Runetail. I believe, however, that the true focus of this story is Anthropoulos' companion, Runetail. He is the catalyst of the story. While we see Anthropoulos change and grow, it is all in response to the events surrounding the tragic tale of his friend. While Anthropoulos may be the narrator, this is truly Runetail's story. Finally, I feel I should point out 2 things. The first is that many times Anthropoulos refers to Runetail as Runetail, or simply as Rune. Many scholars believe this to be a personal nickname for him, and should not cause confusion as to his full name. The second point I should make is that this is a journal. As such, it can sometimes feel as if important information is missing. From time to time, you may see Anthropoulos refer to an event or act that you have no knowledge of. It is important to remember that Anthropoulos was writing this to himself, not to us. This tome should be read with the understanding that it can never give us the full story, and that some details will have to be deduced by the reader. Well, I have taken up enough space. I humbly submit, for your pleasure, The Legend of Runetail. First entry. I have to start a new journal since I was forced to leave my old one with my other personal possessions when I fled my homeland. My parents always told me that we must learn from our past, but that we cannot do that if we do not know ourselves first. To this end, I have always kept a journal containing my past events as well as my reflections upon them. The hope is that this journal will one day help me understand who I am, and how I got to wherever I am when I read this. It saddens me greatly that all of my passages from my homeland are now lost forever. I feel as though I have lost a piece of myself. Still, I can take comfort in the fact that I still have my freedom, and the chance to start this journal anew. So, where to start? I suppose it would be best to consider the events that led me to writing in the bowels of this leaky boat. It was supposed to be a simple job. Get in and get out. The second I picked the lock on the door, however, I found the store filled with city guards waiting for me. I have no evidence, but it must be the Thieves' Guild. Who else could have tricked me so easily? I will never understand their animosity towards me. Yes, they trained me and invested in me, but I have returned that investment many times over. Why should it anger them so much that my ill-gotten gains fell into the hands of people in need instead of theirs? They already had more gold than most noble houses. What possible use could they have for it? Sometimes I wonder if any of them harbor the passion for the arts of the shadow, or if gold is all they can see anymore. Surely many of them started off with the same ambition and joy I have. But what happened? Perhaps gold is a sickness. Perhaps the more you obtain, the more it eats away at your emotions until all that is left is greed. It is possible that the fact that I have never kept gold for very long has spared me this plague. For that, I am grateful. And yet, my health, as it were, is the very thing that drove the Thieves' Guild to hunt me. I believe it is not the loss of gold or my quitting the guild that angered them so, but the fact that I was what they always should have been. I think it was shame, not anger, which led them to bribe the guard from my capture. It doesn't matter anymore. They have succeeded, though not in the way they had hoped. I have left my homeland, and I have no intention of going back. In front of me lies a new path filled with adventure. We shall see what awaits me in Cyrodiil. After all, I have always felt it is better to open your arms wide to the future than to stretch them back longingly for the past. And maybe then I can find a decent meal. Second entry. It has been an eventful day. The Imperial City is the grandest spectacle I have ever seen. And the food! After so long on that boat, the sweetbread was like liquid gold in my mouth. I could get used to this. I spent the better part of the day exploring the city. Oddly, I was found by a shop owner called Basil. He deals in items that are of great use to my skill set and says that there may be work in the future. This could be the start of a good thing. Everywhere in town there is talk of two things: the assassination of the Emperor and the Grey Fox. I do not much know or care about the death of the Emperor. I mean no ill will, but if I have learned anything about politics, it is that there is always changing. There have been emperors in the past, and there will be more in the future. As far as I'm concerned, they all have coffers to lighten. As for this Grey Fox I keep hearing about, many seem to think that he is the head of the local Thieves' Guild. I have heard that he is kind to the poor, and as they are his eyes and ears. If this is true, then I wish this land's guild well, but that is all. I have no desire to join another band of thieves. If you eat one beef stew and it makes you sick, you are loath to try another, no matter how good it smells. Well, my belly is full and the moon is high. It is time to go to work so that I can buy some decent clothes. Third entry. Well, I would have to say my first few days have been rather successful. My first night I infiltrated several shops, and while I did not find anything exciting, I did lift enough to call it a good night. At the very least, I managed to buy some fitting clothes with the profit I got selling the goods to the basso. I cannot tell you how good it is it feels to be able to wear fine clothes again after so long. I am always angered by the way the world works, amazed by the way the world works. If I can claim one constant in my life, it would be how unexpected it can be. This evening is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. I decided to break into the local bank. I honestly felt this would be a sweet target, even with the guard in the vault. I made plans and prepared as best I could. When the time came, I pulled the job off flawlessly. There was only one problem. It was empty. All the effort, all the locks picked, and the best I can say I got was some mithril greaves and a small pile of gold. To be fair, it was a better take than the previous night, but it was still not worth the effort and risk I put into it. Perhaps it was due to the anger, or perhaps it was simple desire to make the night worth it, but I could not stop after the bank, as I had planned. On a whim, I returned to the staff shop and broke into the enchanter's store. While I do feel a little bad about the headaches the owners will wake up with, these were the sweet targets I was hoping the bank would be. I even had to make a late-night run to Basil for more supplies. Mid-job. Good thing he works nights. I did not find the true prizes of the night, however, until after I went back to the enchanter's shop. 4th entry. Jackpot! I was going over the account books I found in the bank, and it would seem that there is another vault where all the shop owners keep their most valuable merchandise. There is no mention as to where the vault is, but the owner of the Good as New shop has withdrawn a sum of money for repairs in the sewers. This leads me to believe that there might be a back entrance through the sewers. The information almost makes the sword and glowing magic orbs I found when I went back to the enchanter's shop seem small. Almost. As I said before, it is always amazing how life surprises you. At first, the bank job seemed to have been a worthless waste of time. Now, it could be the ticket to the sweetest job of my life. I have to do this right. The individual keys should be in the shopkeeper's own homes. If I take them too soon, they will know something is wrong. I will have to find all the keys and hit the vault in the same night. It is risky, but I live for the challenge. 5th entry. I went trekking through the sewers today looking for the vault entrance. At least I found it. I don't know what is worse, the fact that I smell like the underbelly of the city, or that I'm going to have to go do it all over again when I break into the vault. I suppose I should write about my preparations for the vault job, but it's hard to write when I smell like dung. Suffice to say, everything's on track. God, I need a bath. 6th entry. How do I feel about gold? I often ask myself that question. It is a means to an end, a sign of my success, or is it something to be shunned? I take pride in the fact that I do not hoard money like my guildmates in the past, but instead spread it to others. On the other hand, I cannot deny my want for gold, as I often rate how successful a heist was based on the amount of wealth I accrued from it. A perfect example of my conundrum has been the past few days. On the verge of the greatest heist of my life, I paused to consider how prepared I really was. I decided that I needed a feather enchantment in order to carry the possible spoils of my work. Since I could not rob the marketplace, as that would hurt my plans for the vault, I started to consider other targets. The second the idea of the arcane university entered my head, I was not able to resist it. I felt sure it would hold the resources I would need, but that was not what drew me to it. It was the thrill. The idea of breaking into one of the most secure grounds in the Imperial City. Why, then, was I so saddened by my successful achievement of that goal? Last night, I succeeded in infiltrating the university. I broke into every store and robbed the Archmage himself. And yet, I found almost nothing of value. I did not even cover my costs in this venture. I cannot help but feel disappointed, and that angers me. I should be elated. I have achieved what few have ever, and I have lived to tell the tale. Why should it matter that I found so little of worth? I fear that it shows that my ex-guildmates and I are not as different as I would like to believe. Or perhaps I am looking at this wrong. I am a thief, after all. Is it so evil to want to be rewarded for my efforts? Earlier in this journal, I mused that gold was a plague that twisted people. Now I feel that to say so is folly. Gold is an object, nothing more, nothing less. It is the greed in men's hearts that twists them around gold, not the other way around. I do not let greed control me, so why should I fear the desire for gold? In any case, it is something to think on. 7th entry. How should one handle the trials the world throws at them? No one can deny that life is difficult, and I was reminded all too well of that fact recently. I was robbed. I know the irony of the words, but I cannot deny the truth. Many of my most valuable possessions were taken from my saddlebags. I was already struggling with the disappointment of the Arcane University, and now I must deal with this revelation. I wonder how the man passed out on the floor next to me handled the revelation that his excessive drinking has just lost him a valuable sword. Will he be angry? Will he be saddened to the point of depression? Or will he move on, tougher and wiser for his trouble? Despite all that has happened to me in the past few days, I find that I am still able to smile. I find joy in the life I lead, no matter how difficult it becomes. The world may take everything I possess, and I feel that I will be fine, as long as it never takes away my smile. Now I should probably go before the man wakes up and notices that his new sword looks a lot like his. Or that my new sword looks a lot like his. Sorry guys, I'm a bit tired when I'm reading this. You'll have to cut me some slack. 8th entry. Tonight is the night. I have spent weeks preparing for this. In one night I need to steal vault keys from every shop and break into the vault itself. I have never been so nervous. No, I'm not sure nervous is the right word. To be honest, I cannot say that excitement is what I feel either. All I know is that I can barely hold this quill. I know my stomach is tight and that I cannot stop smiling, even if it is a thin smile. As odd as it sounds, I think this feeling is closer to love. Not the love a man feels for a woman, but the love an artist feels for his craft. This is how a true painter must feel when he picks up a brush. What I feel is anticipation and joy of knowing that I am doing what I was meant to do. It is time to get to work. 9th entry. Success! I have finally done it! I broke into the vault, neutralized all the guards, and stole everything but the dirt. I would not say it was a flawless job, but it was most certainly a successful one. However, I must not let my sense of accomplishment blind me to the danger still at hand. I need to get out of town until the people stop looking for the vault thief. Perhaps it is time to travel abroad, to visit new towns and see new prospects. More importantly, what do I do with all of this gold? It is far more than I could ever use. Getting it to the people who need it is not a problem, since gold is a gift rarely refused. The problem lies in how to disperse it. There are plenty of beggars, but they have few possessions and thus few needs. They have no way to support themselves, so giving them gold is to give them happiness for a month or two. On the other hand, to ensure a farmer has the seed to feed his family, or pay the loan of a shark, or pay a loan shark who has become too threatening towards a poor family, can ensure happiness and well-being for years to come. I shall have to keep my eye open for opportunities to share my wealth properly. 10th entry. Well, a strange thing has happened today. As I was leaving the Imperial City, I was approached by an Argonian named Runetail. He seemed timid, and more than a little surprised I even talked to him. He asked to accompany me, and I'm not sure why, but I agreed. I know having the extra sword while traveling will be useful, but part of me feels I should not be willing to trust a stranger so easily. I suppose it was his quiet sense of desperation. He tried to hide it, but I could feel he needed help. I suppose I have always had a soft spot for those in need, and I guess... No. For this journal to serve its purpose, I need to be honest with myself. I agreed because I am more tired of being alone. I try not to think about it too much, but I feel I have been alone since my parents died. The old Thieves Guild could not be called friends, or even companions. I let Rune travel with me because I am tired of talking to myself. I am tired of not having a conversation with someone deeper than asking how much something costs. This might be a mistake, and I might end up paying for it in the end, but I feel I have made the right choice. It was not fear or desperation I saw in Rune's eyes that made me accept his offer. It was something I have sensed in myself for far too long. What I saw in Rune's eyes was loneliness. 11th entry. Quite a lot has happened since the last time I wrote in this journal. First, I suppose I should mention that I am poor again. One of the inns Rune and I stayed at while traveling to Chorrol burned down. The innkeeper seemed a very cheerful woman, and the sheer despair I saw in her face was hard to bear. I do not think the 9,000 gold I gave her is enough to restore everything, but it's a start, and it will be put to better use than I could ever use it for. My new companion has turned to be quite an interesting fellow. He is far more philosophical than any Argonian I have ever met, and he speaks with an eloquence that would have put many nobles back home to shame. It seems that he has escaped a society that he does not agree with, and is now trying to figure out how he fits into his new society. The irony of the situation is similar to his situation is similar to my own story is not lost to me. However, I feel that Rune comes from a much darker past than my own. On the business side of things, I have taken a job for the Countess of Chorrol. I hate to work for the nobility that I so despise, but it has granted me free access to the castle. It is almost comical. The Countess is so desperate to find a precious painting that she has all but given the keys to a person that could take everything else. 12th Infantry. Have you ever had one of those days? Well, since you are me, you just did. I was roped into helping a farmer protect his farm from goblins. This is not really the type of thing I do, but no one else would help him. The farmers fought bravely, and Rune was a sight to behold. I have never seen such grace and deadly skill. I, however, was useless. Because of my failure in battle, one of the farmer's sons died, and so did Artax. The horse that I had saved from an orc's dinner plate ended up dead anyway, at the point of a goblin sword. To make matters worse, Rune has just made a confession to me. He told me that there are dangerous people from his past out to kill him. He admitted, at first, that he had planned to use me to distract them, but as we became friends, he now regrets that mindset. He apologized and said that he would leave so that I would not be caught up in his problems. I probably should have been angry. Oddly, the only thing I felt was fear. Not fear of being hunted, but fear of losing my friend. Friend. That is an odd word for me. It is at the same time strange and heartwarming. My time with Rune has started to teach me that what this world truly means, and I am not ready to give that up. I hold no illusions that I could win in a fight against whoever is hunting us, but I have felt fear before. Believe me when I tell you that fear is nothing compared to loneliness. 13th entry. Success! I have completed another victorious Vault Heist. After Rune informed me that we might be hunted, I decided it was best to hit the vault and leave Chorrol as soon as possible. I had explored the castle and memorized the layout, so I was ready. Or, at least I thought I was. Not 10 minutes into the job, a bout of stupidity landed me in a jail cell. Fortunately, with the help of a lockpick I managed to hang on to, I declined the hospitality of my guests and still finished the heist. There are not many thieves that I know that have been caught and still finished the job in the same night. We are now headed back to the Imperial City. I have a lot of things to offload to my fence in the city. I am starting to worry about my friend, however. Rune seems to be increasingly depressed. I am not sure if it is simply his nature or if things are weighing on his mind. I know we are in danger, but as long as we stay on the move, I feel we shall be fine. I will do my best in the coming days to help Rune find a smile again. 14th entry. I have been a fool. I woke up this morning to find Rune gone. His journal suggests that he felt the danger was too great and has tried to distance himself from me. How could I not have seen this? Perhaps I was too naive to think everything would be all right. Using his journal and some information from Basil, I owe him big for this. I believe that I have an idea where Rune is headed. I'm currently rushing to Cheydinhall in hopes of catching him. I would not be writing this if I did not need to let Antis rest. Now that I reflect upon the events of the past few hours, I have come to a strange revelation. This was an opportunity for me to wash my hands of everything. I have never been one for danger, and Rune has provided me with a perfect chance to walk away. The strange part is, I never even stopped to consider this. I have blindly rushed into untold danger without a second of hesitation. And are my values changing? Or am I simply becoming better to understand what my values always were? This is a puzzle for another time. For now, I need to ride like the wind, and pray that I am not too late. 15th entry. I killed someone today. I always feared this day may come. I dreaded what it would mean for me. I have never wanted to hurt anyone. Well, not in a permanent way. Life, it would seem, had other ideas for me. When is it okay to take another's life? It is a question Rune asked me a few days ago. At the time, I did not really think about it. Now, it's all I can think about. There is nothing worse in this world than someone who kills for money or pleasure. But what about to protect a friend? What about to protect oneself? As I looked down at the Argonian woman I had slain, I thought I should feel sorrow, regret, or even anger. In all honesty, I thought 100 emotions should be running through my mind. Strangely, I only felt two things. First, I felt realization. Rune told me they would come. He warned me of the danger, but I feel that I never truly comprehended what he was saying. In that instant, as I looked at her, I understood. I understood what it would mean to be Rune's friend. I understood what I would have to do and who I would have to become. The second thing I felt was determination. I am not an evil man. I do not wish death upon anyone, but I will no longer stand by and watch as everything I care about is stripped from me. Let them come. Let them try and take my friend. If they will not give us peace, then I will tear it from their cold, dead hands. 16th entry. Another vault down. I would love to say this went off without a problem. I would also love to say people are not trying to kill us. I guess there are a lot of things I would love to be true and are not. In any case, we got away without anyone being seriously hurt. We are now on our way back to the Imperial City. From there, we travel on to Anvil. Rune believes he might know a way to throw our pursuers off our trail. I have to trust his judgment. This is a world I do not know. It is odd that the skills Rune so detests are the one thing keeping us alive. Despite our desperate situation, Rune seems happier. I think he has finally accepted that I am with him till the end. Sadly, I fear his happiness is tinged with worry. Rune is worried that he cannot protect me from his past. I admit that I am no warrior, but the last thing I want is to be a burden. I must show Rune that I can handle myself. I must show him I can fight by his side, not behind his tail. 17th entry. Rune is dead. They took my brother from me. For what was Rune if not my brother? Yet again I could not protect my family. I could not stop the arrow that cut him down. What a sad, pathetic fool I am. Running around believing everything would be all right. Rune tried to warn me, but I would not listen. Now, it's too late. If we had fled, if we had run to the ends of the world, Rune might still be by my side. Instead, I wandered around robbing vaults while Rune feared for his life. I told myself it was okay, and hid behind a false sense that I could actually fight against what was coming. Now the truth consumes me, and I cannot bear it. Twice now, my world has been torn asunder, and I find that I can no longer endure the pain. Better that it had been me cut down, so that I would be spared this torture. I wish that I could at least mask my pain with anger. I wish that I could blame Rune's death on the Shadowscale assassins, but I know the truth. I killed Rune. If I had been stronger or faster, Rune would yet live. Rune needed a warrior to stand beside him, but I was merely a child who puffed out his chest and pretended to be a man. It was this deception that killed Rune. I convinced him that he could rely on me, that he could trust in me. Now, I cannot even ask his forgiveness for my arrogance. As I sit in this jail cell with nothing but this journal and my thoughts, I wonder how much better this world would be if I had come sooner. My parents, Rune, would they still live if I had not been a part of their lives? Perhaps it is better to rot behind these bars and spare anyone else the pain I bring. I once said that I could handle anything as long as as long as I still had my smile. This world has taken everything from me. I no longer know how to smile. In truth, I wonder if I really ever did. 18th entry. I had a dream tonight. In the dream, I talked to Rune again. I know it sounds crazy, but I am certain the dream was real. Rune told me the Shadowscales were torturing his spirit and begged me to help him. The dream ended when some figure in a black robe took Rune away. As I was still trying to piece the dream together, I was attacked by a Shadowscale assassin. He was going to kill me. He should have killed me. He was more skilled than I was, and I had been poisoned. During the fight, however, something snapped inside me. It was not anger, exactly. It was more of an understanding. I realized that I was Rune's only hope. I was the only person in the entire world that cares what happens to him. If I did not help him, no one ever would. I realized that if this assassin killed me, Rune would never be free. So I won. I'm not sure how else to describe it. I needed to win, so I did. Now, I have a purpose. I am more focused than I have ever been in my life. Rune has given me so much, and now he needs me. I am the only hope he has, and so I will make myself into the only hope he needs. I will track the Shadowscales down, and I will tear Rune's soul free. They may be stronger, they may be faster, they may have many times my number, but I have something they do not. I have rage. A white-hot fire that consumes my every fear and infuses my every thought. They have no idea who they're messing with. 19th entry. I did it! I cannot believe that I am still alive to write this. I tracked the Shadowscales to the Imperial City. I suppose, however, it would be more accurate to say they found me. After taking me to their lair, they showed me a sight both shocking and terrible. They had used necromancy to resurrect Rune. Their leader planned to use him to kill for them against his will. They underestimated Runetown. Upon seeing me, Rune fought against his cursed enchantments and attacked his captors. What kind of strength resides in his soul that Rune can overcome such magic? Despite his inhuman effort, they struck Rune down before I could aid him. Again, I saw my only friend fall before me. I expected rage to consume me. Instead, I was filled with a different emotion. Hope. The Shadowscales had shown me a way to save Rune from an eternity of suffering. If they could resurrect Rune, so could I. My greatest enemies had just given me my greatest hope. That day, the Shadowscales thought they had trapped me. They thought I had no chance of surviving. I probably should have perished under the city. Rage had allowed me to survive in the past, but a torrent of rage would not have defeated the odds I faced. That day, I found that rage pales in comparison to hope. When I saw Rune, my world crystallized. I do not remember my past fights very well. They were a blur. This was different. Every movement was precise, every step was perfect, every shadow scale in that lair died. I have heard it said that having friends and loved ones can be a great weakness. That it is better to trust no one so that they cannot be used against you. Those people have never seen Rune overcome his own possessed body. They have never seen a simple woodland elf become an angel of death for the sake of the bonds those people see as a weakness. I do not say this to boast. I am not proud of my actions, and I remember the face of whose eyes have lost the light by my hand. I write these words to remind myself of my motivations. I feel that I am treading a dangerous path. One wrong step, and I risk becoming the very people I fight so hard against. I will rescue Rune. I will defeat anything that tries to stop me, and I will not sacrifice who I am in the process. 20th entry. I was right! I tracked down Gloom, the necromancer that brought Rune back from the Shadow Scales, and convinced him to do it once again. Rune lives, and this time, without the chains of the Shadow Scales tied to a shackle his soul with. Yet I cannot help but wonder at what cost. I could not take Rune's body with me, and so another had to be used. I dug the body out of the ground itself. A month ago, I would have been disgusted at this act, but tonight? I just do not know. The name of the Argonian whose body I used was Missing Tooth. I feel as if I have wronged him, as if I have soiled my hands by a foul deed. Despite this, my guilt outweighed my joy and relief that Rune is once again by my side. We can now continue our journey as it was always meant to. Both of us have been granted a second chance. If adjusting to a face that is not Rune's is the worst price we have to pay, then I say we're blessed. 21st entry. What is a soul? Recent events have forced me to consider this question deeply. As Rune and I journeyed, I could see that he was not well. It was as if his body knew that Rune was not its owner and was trying to reject him. Now it has gotten even worse. It would seem that Missing Tooth's soul still held a link to the body I stole. Now there are two souls, two people, trapped inside one body. I cannot even begin to fathom what that must be like. How it must feel to share your mind with another. Missing Tooth did not want to leave his body and return to the pit of the faithless, and in all honesty, who could blame him? I only spent a few short minutes in that horrid place, and I would do almost anything to never return there. Both souls could not coexist in the body without tearing it apart. I was eventually able to convince Missing Tooth to relinquish control and return to the pit of the faithless, but only by promising that I would find a way to free him. I am beginning to fear that I am meddling with things that should not be altered. Death, after all, is supposed to be everlasting. It does not matter. What's done is done, and I would have done it again to have Rune walk beside me once more. This does not justify the wrong I have inflicted on Missing Tooth, however. I will do whatever it takes to keep my word to Missing Tooth. I will free him from that eternal hell. 22nd entry. My concern for Rune grows. He has grown a sudden desire to see the world, as he explains it. I had to go trekking through an old fortress full of goblins because he was curious as to what was inside. This sudden desire is not what really worries me. After all, Rune just had a brush with death. I suppose it's only natural that he would want to see and do all that he can before death comes again. My concern is his shyness for combat. He has been hesitant to engage in combat. He has all but lost the quiet confidence that he had before. He even admitted this to me tonight. He fears death. I suppose we all do, but this is different. The idea of being sent back to the pit of the faithless terrifies him more than I could ever understand. It is ironic that when we first met, I was using Rune as a shield. I hid behind his coattails in an effort to not have to kill anyone. Now I have taken on the role of protector and shield Rune from death that he fears so much. I never much considered myself a warrior, but I doubt the world cares much for what we see ourselves to be. It matters not. I will take up whatever role is necessary to protect my only friend. These words should not be taken for bravado, however. They are, in fact, the words of a small, frightened elf, desperately trying to hold on to a friend the world seems intent on ripping away from him. 23rd entry. I succeeded in robbing Bruma's vault tonight. The entire thing went fairly smoothly. I should be much happier about it, so why am I not? My concern for Rune has clouded every other aspect of my life. I feel like I am being forced to watch my only friend be slowly tortured to death. I just wish there was something I could do. Luckily, Rune has not given in to despair yet. He understands that his eventual death cannot be stopped, and he desperately wants to find a way to avoid the pit of the faithless. Rune has never worshipped the gods. He feels that it is hypocrisy to devote so much to gods who care so little for the affairs of mortals. The bitter fact that worshipping of a god is the only way to avoid his fate has not escaped Rune. He has decided that perhaps he is judging too harshly the gods he knows so little about. In light of this, he has requested a book that teaches about the Divine Nine. I have to admit that this idea holds an appeal to me as well. I have never been at odds with the gods. I go my way and they go theirs. But can I really hold to this belief? I have been to the pit of the faithless, if only briefly. Is my fate any different than Rune's right now? Perhaps Rune has the right idea. Perhaps I should study this book as well. I do not think I could bring myself to worship a god simply to save my skin. In truth, could anyone even call that genuine worship? I doubt the gods are so easily deceived. Still, I know so little about them. I do not see the harm in at least learning about the gods. Perhaps there is one worthy of my devotion. Even as I say this, however, I have a tugging fear in the back of my mind. What god would ever want the devotion of a thief? 24th entry. It is a beautiful day. I have always been a city person, but I admit that the beauty of this land is growing on me. Things seem to be looking up. I have not been attacked by the shadow scales in quite a while. Even Rune is in better spirits than I have seen him in a long time. He spends every night poring over the book about the gods, and I think it has given him hope, if even a small amount. We are on our way to Anvil in search of a house. My fortune has been good lately, and I have been thinking about what to do with all of the wealth. The truth is that Rune and I may not survive the storm that is inevitably coming. The shadow scales do not forget, and I held no illusions that Rune and I cannot rest while they exist. This fact has made me ponder my efforts to better the world around me. I never have and never will seek the glory Rune talked about so long ago. But if I die, who will remember the forgotten? Sometimes I feel I am the only one who sees the poor and suffering that line the streets of Cyrodiil. I kept thinking that there must be a way to help them in a more meaningful way. I have decided to create a home of sorts. I figure that if I can buy a large house, then at least I can shelter those who need it. I should have enough money to buy the house and to feed the inhabitants. This is something that could survive if I fall. I recall a man in Anvil who was apparently selling a manor. Rune and I are on our way to see if this will be suitable to our purpose. 25th entry. Have you ever had an idea that seemed to be a good one, only to turn out to be a horrible mistake? Well, considering I am writing this for myself, I suppose you have. In any case, just in case you forgot, buying that manor was one of those ideas. Everything seemed to be going better than we had hoped. The manor was run down, but a good deal. I even met a homeless man named Raceland who offered to gather the others that were in need of shelter. I was actually starting to feel like this house could do some real good. Even Ruin seemed to smile a bit more. Then I spent the first night there. As luck would have it, the entire house is filled with ghosts. They attacked me and the people I had offered shelter to. I really had no way of knowing something like this would happen, but I cannot help but feel responsible for the lives I put in danger. I asked them to come. I told them it was safe. The rest of my night was spent running shadow into the ground trying to reach the Imperial City in search of the man who sold me the house. Ruin stayed behind to protect the people in the shelter, and I trust his skill, but I would never forgive myself if something happens to any of them. I have tracked down the owner and convinced him to come back with me to stop this madness. I would leave right now, but I must let Shadow rest. That horse has been through so much already. He is starting to become as much a member of family as Ruin is. It tears my heart to push him so hard. "26th entry. I am pleased to announce the crisis has been averted. After rushing to Anvil, I arrived to find everyone still safe, with nothing more serious than a few cuts and bruises. Rune said the people staying in the house had fought the ghost just as hard as he had. With the help of the manor's previous owner, Rune and I were able to defeat the lich that had been the source of all the ghosts. With his defeat, the manor once again became a safe harbor I had hoped it would be. Rasslin and his fellow housemates have come closer together after the incident. It seems that fighting for their new home has given them a sense of pride that they had lost on the streets. The fact is demonstrated by the enthusiastic way they go about fixing up the manor, and it warms my heart. I am beginning to feel as though I have found a way to truly make a difference in the world, even if it is a small one. Ruin had once talked about becoming a hero. He wanted to be remembered after he was gone. I did not know how to respond at the time, but I think I do now. I want to change the world in some way. I want to know that the world is somehow better off because of my efforts. In all honesty, however, I do not care if everyone knows about it. I do not care if I am remembered by the world or if I fade into history like a mist. As long as I know I made a difference, I will be happy. Today, I feel like I just took the first step towards achieving this goal. 27th entry. I have seen many things in my life, some good, others bad. When I walked into the burning ruins that were Kvatch, I saw many things I wish I could forget. Never have I seen such devastation. The entire town was a smoking ruin. I know not what could have caused such destruction, and I pray that I never find out. Ruin and I were successful in finding the vault within the new charred castle. It was filled with the horrors, the likes of which still give me nightmares. I have heard of Daedra, but I had never seen them until this day. They are horrible, twisted abominations, and fight as though they take glee in slaughter. With Ruin's skills, we were able to slay them, but I can only hope I never have to face such a thing ever again. There are many wanderers in this world. There are many wonders in this world that I can gladly live my life never having seen. At least some good came out of it all. We were able to liberate many of the treasures within the vault. Hopefully, the villagers can use them to start to rebuild their lost city. I know what it is to lose everything you hold dear. I had the fortune to regain what I had lost. I pray the gods see fit to grant these poor souls the same chance. 28th entry. The Count of Skingrad is a vampire. Even as I write these words, I have trouble believing it. At first I thought it odd that he would not grant us an audience when we came to Skingrad, but now I understand. The first Daedra in Kvatch, and now a vampire runs Skingrad. I am lucky that the vampire is just as vulnerable to a knock on the head as any normal mortal. I do not want to think about my chance of fighting one face to face would be. In any case, another vault has been checked off the list. I was lucky enough to find a vast network of sewers beneath Skingrad that granted me access to the wine cellar of the castle. If only all my targets were so accommodating. The only real bumps in the road, other than the vampire count, of course, were a run-in with the Dark Brotherhood. They were using the sewers as a hideout. The Brotherhood disgusts me. I often wonder if it is because their skill set is so similar to my own. The idea that, had I led a different life, I could do well among their ranks makes my heart run cold. Few things are worse in this life than to take a life for something as petty as gold. The Brotherhood is the pinnacle of the disease that gold can spawn inside men's hearts. I snuck into their lair and managed to disable all of them. I cannot tell you how much of a struggle it was not to end their lives. They are murderers, and I would be doing the world a favor. As I stood over their helpless forms, I am ashamed to say I was only a breath away from draining their life's blood. In the end, though, would I be any different than them? Is not my value for life the biggest difference between me and them? At least these particular assassins will not be hurting anyone soon, unless they are partial to killing with nothing but their hands and their small clothes. 29th entry. What does it mean to follow a god or goddess? I am not sure I really know. I know the consequences of not doing so. I have seen the pit of the faithless, and I have no wish to go there, but can I truly avoid it? If I follow a god simply to avoid the alternative, am I really following them? I often ask myself this. Like Rune, I studied the gods in an attempt to understand them better. I believe I had found one that I can relate to, Mara, the goddess of love. When I think of her, I am reminded of my mother, kind, warm, and with more love than the rest of the world combined. If ever there was a deity I could devote myself to, it would be her. But would she have me? Would she suffer the devotions of a thief? I understand love, and I feel I inject it into everything I do, but is my idea of love the same as hers? If so, and if she would have me, I am hers. This decision means more to me than a simple chance to escape the pit of the faithless. The idea that someone could always be watching over me stirs longing in my heart. I spent so many years alone. I had no one. I am not sure if it is the memories of my mother driving me, but I find myself wanting to give my love to Mara and praying that it is returned. If she does hear me, let her watch over me now. Rune has told me that he feels a darkness coming for us. We both knew that the shadow scales would come for us eventually. I feel, as he does, that the end is drawing near. I am scared. I do not want to face the trials ahead. I do not want to lose what I have fought so hard to gain. I do not want to lose Rune again. 30th entry. They've taken Rune. They came out of nowhere. One second we were in Breville, and the next I woke up in Cheydinhall covered in blood. Rune was nowhere to be seen. I was found by Twilight, the leader of the Shadow Seekers. He informed me that Rune had been brought to the Shadowscale stronghold in the Imperial City. He offered to show me the way as they were headed to the same battle. It would seem Gloom, the necromancer that resurrected Rune, was also taken to the Shadow Seekers, and they planned to get him back. This is a goal I share. I swear to everything good in the world I will slaughter every single one of them if they stand in my way. I am sick of this. All I want is my brother. Mara, pity the soul that tries to stand in my way. One way or the other. This ends now. 31st entry. It has been weeks since my last entry. I feel I have no will to write these days. My assault on the Shadow Scales was successful in every way but the one that mattered. I pierced into the very heart of their order. I cast them down into the hell they deserve. The Shadow Scales are no more. Yet, at what cost? My brother is gone. Ruined tale. trapped by the undeath that was eating away at him, could not keep the darkness at bay. I succeeded in freeing him only to say goodbye. Rather than lose himself in the darkness, Rune succumbed to death. I understand that things were different this time. Rune has finally truly found peace, and the Pit of the Faithless is no longer a threat to him. Even Missing Tooth was freed from his immortal prison through Rune's influence. None of this eases the pain in my chest, however. Rune is at peace, but I am not. I want nothing in life. Everything I yearn for is past the sweet embrace of death. I wish so badly to follow Rune, yet I know I cannot. Rune would never forgive me. And so I sit, day after day, on the watchtower above Anvil's harbor, the place we once had lunch. I sit and I pray for death to find me. Mara, help me. Take pity on this poor wretched soul and free me from my everlasting pain. 32nd entry. Something amazing happened to me. I find it difficult to put into words, but I shall try. Yesterday evening, I sat upon the watchtower as I had done for weeks. I could not bring myself to do anything else, and I began to fear that I would end my days there in self-pity. Suddenly, I was attacked by Dark Brotherhood assassins. I should not be surprised, I suppose. The Shadow Scales were a part of them, and they are not likely to forgive the actions I have taken. At some point during the fight, I was flung from the top of the watchtower and fell to what I believed to be my death. I awoke in a beautiful field of flowers. Believing myself dead, I called for my brother. I would lie if I said I did not secretly hope that death had found me, and that I could once again travel with Rune. But what I found, however, astonished me more than I could accurately express with words. I saw my mother, standing among the flowers. Her golden hair was as beautiful as I remembered, and her smile was the warmest thing I had ever seen. Lost in confusion and emotion, I went to her. I found, however, that I did not stand before the woman who had birthed me. Instead, I stood before Mara herself. My shock was made worse when she softly told me that she had always walked with me, that she considered me a common thief to be one of her most beloved children. Mara told me that I was wrong to blame myself for Runetail. He had finally found peace. More importantly, Mara had come to give me a message. She told me that a darkness was coming. Mara was certain that while there may be many years left before it came, I would be at the center of the storm. Mara had a gift for me, an amulet that hangs around my neck even as I write this. I do not know its purpose, but I feel better just knowing it's there. After our conversation, I awoke inside the manor that serves as a shelter for Raceland and the others. While I have no way to prove the events that took place in that field of flowers, I know in my heart it was real. I do not know what darkness Mara speaks of or what part I am to play in it, but I would walk through Oblivion itself for her. To learn that I am not alone, that a goddess can love even someone like me. Mara has saved me, in every way a person can be saved. 33rd entry. The past few weeks have been difficult for me, as I mourn the passing of my friend Runetail. I wonder if people will ever know how great a person he really was, and how much shallower the world is without him. I still feel grief, like a dagger in my chest. I know now, however, that any grief I feel is not for Rune, but for my own loss at not having him next to me. And I refuse to wallow in self-pity any longer. I will live my life. I will smile again. Runetail would have it no other way. When I came to this land, I vowed to rob the vault in every city in Cyrodiil. I know now that that goal will never come to fruition. When I think about Rune not being there, not being with the horses as we dash triumphantly into the darkness, I feel that any victory seems hollow. But my heart is not heavy. After all, simply because a story takes an unexpected turn does not make it a bad story. and I would trade all the riches in the world for Rune's happiness. The question then becomes, what now? What do I do now? It's funny. Rune always talked about what kind of effect I had on him. Until now, I don't think I ever realized how much of an effect he had on me. Rune wanted to see everything, go into the darkest caves, explore the deepest dungeons, and I find that I, the city elf who abhors the dust of the world, begins to understand how he feels. I want to see things that no one has ever seen, do things no one has ever done. But not here, not in Cyrodiil. This was a land I traveled with my brother, and without him the hills seem paler, the grass loses its color, and all the land seems darker. I think to myself, what about beyond the horizon? What about distant lands and distant treasures? Do they still sparkle? And I feel something in my chest that I have not felt in a very long time. Excitement. I do not know how much time I have. I do not know what strength is within me. But I will keep Mara's promise. I will live my life to the fullest. I will love my hardest. And when the shadow finally comes, I will be ready. Notes from the Scribe. There is one more entry I am adding to this tome. While many of my scholastic equals would shun this action, I feel that it is the right one to make. Some years ago, a torn section of a journal was found in the Imperial City after the Thalmor were driven from its streets. It appears to be from Anthropolis himself. Many believe it to be fake, as it was almost impossible for a wood elf to live so long, and even less likely for Anthropolis to still be young enough to fight, as the passage suggests. I, however, believe it to be real. As a proud Anthrop, I have dedicated many years of my life to studying the works of our founder. I believe this handwriting matches that of Anthropolis. More than that, it just feels right. Whether you believe me or not is up to you, but I truly think these words are the thoughts of Anthropolis, and I would do them an injustice not to write them here. Entry number unknown. Titus plans to abandon the city. He will lead a charge against the Thalmor in a desperate attempt to break through their lines. I feel this is the wisest course of action. To stay here is to die, but outside these walls we may have a chance to gather the strength needed to drive back the Thalmor. Many times this past month I have wondered how I ever got involved in this. I am a simple elf, not a hero, and most certainly not worthy to be the Emperor's advisor. I have no love for war, but the Thalmor must be stopped before this land is lost the same way my homeland was. At moments like this, when times are dire, I draw strength from Runetail. Does that sound odd? One would think that with the passing of the centuries, the image of my brother would fade. Instead, I find my admiration of him grows each day. When we traveled together, I was too young, too naive to truly understand the strength within him. He was an amazing fighter that taught me everything I know. Beyond that, his spirit was strong enough to withstand all the darkness of the world. To be raised as an assassin is a difficult thing, but there is comfort in it. You have a place to belong, and you always know what is expected of you. Despite how horrible it is, it can even be harder to leave it. Rune risked everything to reject that which he felt was wrong. He was alone and faced the wrath of the Shadowscale's combined might. How many people could have withstood that pressure? There is no doubt in my mind I would not have. I could not really see it at the time, but Rune's strength was present in everything he did. Choosing to travel with me, to try and protect me from the horrors of his past took strength. Breaking hold of his own possessed body, avoiding insanity while sharing one body with two minds, and even overcoming the pit of the faithless, all took a level of strength I could not even comprehend. What I admire most of all was his ability to let go of the life he cherished so much, to step through the door of no return willingly, to sacrifice everything he is everything he will ever be for an ideal. Even in death, my brother has taught me so much. And so, when I charge the Thalmor besides the Emperor tomorrow, it will be Rune's strength that will guide me. If I shall stumble, it will be the memory of his spirit that will steady me. If an ally needs me, it will be his skill that allows me to protect him. And, if I shall fall, it will be his example that will allow me to do so with dignity. I will never be the hero that Rune was. But if I never cease striving to be, that way, perhaps when I meet him again, he can be as proud of me as I am of him. Okay, that's The Legend of Runetail. I hope you enjoyed it. I do apologize. I messed up a bunch of stuff. I basically sat down and read this all in one take, and I'm a bit tired. But there we go. And if it did its job, you have a better understanding of what took place in Oblivion, and that will help you better understand the adventures of Skyrim. Again, one of the amazing things I find about this is that as I wrote each of these journal entries, I had no idea what the next one would be. So, when I wrote the passage of Runetail being dead and Squeeper wishing he was dead as well, I had no idea, none whatsoever, that you were eventually going to resurrect Runetail. None. I really thought he was dead, and I wrote the passage believing as such, and I really think that it adds so much more to it. It wouldn't have been the same if I knew that Runetail was coming back. When Runetail started searching for a goddess or a god, and I decided Squeeper should too, I really didn't know what the gods were like. I actually researched them during the LP. I had never even heard of Mara. When I started the LP, I actually never intended for Squeeper to find a deity at all. I just kind of figured they'd go their way and he'd go his, and leave it at that. So to see the story unfold, I mean, even as I read back through this, to see the story unfold the way it did was simply amazing. It really was, especially for me, the person writing these journal entries. You have no idea how many different emotions writing these things invoked in me, because as I wrote them, I didn't know what the future held. In any case, hopefully I will have these done soon. You can tell in the last few passages there were some editing errors. It is not easy to put these in a Skyrim book, but I will get those fixed, and hopefully I will divide this up into about 5 books or so, and make them a mod you can download to use in your Skyrim game. So, until then, folks, have fun, and I'll see you later. Ta-ta!